Ferrall. Coast to coast! Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
It's Ferrall, coast to coast, in the biggest way possible, right here on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have you with us on a Wednesday. Carver High in for Scotty. Go for the two. Joe Lisi joins me momentarily, as he always does on Tuesdays and Wednesdays here on C2C. We got a lot going on, as always. Huge day. We're getting ready for Conference Championship Sunday. We have a ton of NBA tonight, lots of pucks as well, good college basketball games, and several other things to discuss as well along the way. We start, as always, with the birthday roll call. Let's go. How about Tristan Wirfs of the Bucks, 25. Connor Siebold, 28. Jose Quintana, 35. Whit Merrifield, 35. Luis Suarez, 37. Brian Cushing, 37. Big Cush. Sean McVay, 38. How about that? Not bad. Already been an NFL coach for what seems like forever. Super Bowl championship. Only 38. Unbelievable for Sean McVay. Scott Kazmir, 40. Tim Biakabatuka, how about him? 50 spot for him heading to the back nine. Jay Walker, 52. Joe Panos, 53. Mary Lou Retton, 56. Rob Dibble checking in at 60. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. All right. Big first hour coast to coast. Lots of guests for you. First, Coach Young will be in the house because, Coach, we got to talk to him about the new Buck situation. Yesterday, Griffin chopped. Today, Doc Rivers in. What will be the ramifications of that? We'll also get Coach's thoughts on Rozier to Miami, NBA and college rack for tonight. So a lot to do with Coach Young to kick things off today. We always have Gabe Morency in hour number one as well. He will be here. And Dominic Raiola, former Lions center, 14 years with the Detroit Lions. And, of course, he's extremely excited for the Lions, going to be in the NFC Championship game. And his son, Dylan, number one quarterback prospect who just transferred to Nebraska. So a lot to discuss with Dominic as well. We welcome in all of our radio affiliates for Coast to Coast on a Wednesday. Carver High in for Scotty. Joe joins me momentarily. SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 159, Sports Byline, and, of course, the mightier 1090 ESPN Radio in sunny Southern California. Great to have everybody with us here today. So big first hour, Coach, Gabe, Dominic Raiola. We've got a lot to do. Second hour, we'll get into more of the NBA. We'll talk a little bit. Joe's got a pretty good theory about NBA coaches that he's been throwing around on Twitter today. So we'll let him expand on those thoughts here on C2C today. Clippers beat the Lakers last night. No LeBron. Kawhi had a triple-double, had a huge night. Knicks beat the Nets. Nets were winning the entire game until the fourth quarter. And then the Nets decided to net, and the Knicks took care of business. We got a huge throwdown from Randall. Randall and Brunson both with a 30 spot last night against the Nets to get it done. Nuggets were down at the half in Indiana against the Pacers. The Joker with a monster second half and a dagger three to win it for them. Thunder had a much harder time with the Trailblazers than last time they were in town. Remember, they beat them by 62 a few weeks back. They needed some late heroics to beat them this time, and I guess you could say some help from the refs as well. I know if you asked Chauncey Billups, it was some help from the refs that OKC got last night to end up winning that ballgame. They're even protesting that, which you don't see very often in the NBA, head coaches and teams protesting games. But that's precisely what the Blazers did. You never win those, though. Nobody ever wins protests. And the Pelicans beat the Jazz. They put up a 153 spot as well. We've got the lion's share with Davis Maddock in hour number two. He's got some NBA snags for tonight that we will get from him. And it is a very big night in the NBA. We have Minnesota, who's coming off of that awful loss at home against Charlotte, gets destroyed by the coach, Chris Finch. And now they're going to go on the road to play another awful team in Washington. Interested to see another big number for them. Do they kind of take what they heard from the coach the other night and kind of stick it to the Wizards? Or another lackadaisical effort against a bad team? We shall see. Memphis is in Miami tonight. Terry Rozier going to make his debut. Portland, back-to-back for them. They are in Houston, Cleveland, and Milwaukee. So the new era of Bucks basketball begins tonight as well. Phoenix and Dallas getting together. And the Golden State Warriors, who, of course, have not played in the past week the tragic passing of their assistant coach. They get back on the floor tonight for the first time. They have Atlanta coming into the chase, so it will be a very tough scene for them tonight as they get back to basketball or try to get back to basketball after that tragedy. Hour number 3, we have, we'll get into the football games. As always, they started to talk today. It was talking day. It takes a long week. When you get down to 2 games, it's great during the season, right? You got tons of games every Sunday, all week long. You can spend a day on 5 games, the next day on 5 other games. When you get down to the nitty-gritty, and there's only 2 games left, you can't wait for him to start because you spend a lot of time talking about it, a lot of time breaking it down. Lamar Jackson today did talk. We'll hear a little bit from him today on Coast to Coast. We've got Dan Campbell as well on the Lions and the Niners. We've got some numbers for you. Mahomes as a dog, Lions as a dog since Jared Goff has been there. Interesting stuff. How about the most popular championship week bets so far? We will take a look at those. And they announced the ref for Super Bowl 58. It will be Bill Vinovich. And tremendous job not only by the SportsGrid social team, because I saw them tweet this out and put on social a bunch of times. The most profitable ref to the under is Bill Vinovich. So keep that in mind when they hang that total up for Super Bowl 58, no matter who it is going to be. When Billy V is in there, usually these games do trend to the under. Lots of college basketball tonight, including Providence and Seton Hall getting together, Miami at Notre Dame, NC State, Virginia, Auburn at Alabama. You have one of these unranked team favored over the ranked team at home tonight. I ain't scared. I'm staying with it. You know me with the system play. I'm not going against it, even though I saw before like 95% of the bets are on Alabama tonight. So everybody's on the system play. I don't care. That means Joe's going to be on Auburn. Just so everybody knows. Nova and St. John's at the Garden, Mississippi State and Florida, Marquette and DePaul, Kansas State, Iowa State, some good Big 12 games as well. Late night in the Mountain West, Colorado State, Nevada, New Mexico, and San Jose State as well. Sneaky good game in the Pac-12 too. Utah and Washington State have both been decent so far this year, and those two are going to get together in Pullman tonight. Good one there. NHL, we got the best and the worst on the money line so far and the over-unders and a full slate, which is good. Usually Wednesday's a pretty light night in the NHL, but not tonight. Winnipeg and Toronto, good game. Arizona heads east. They go on a little southeast road trip. It starts in Sunrise against the Panthers, who have been excellent. Washington and Colorado getting together. St. Louis and Vancouver, Carolina, Boston, and late night games as well with Buffalo in L.A., against the Kings, who have had all kinds of problems so far. We have the Farmers Insurance, round number 1. They're underway. I already saw Colin Morikawa is up there in the board. I think he was second right before we came on. And who was off to the big start before? We've got one guy who's out to like 6 under par, Nikolai Højgaard, 6 under so far, tearing up Torrey Pines. We'll keep you updated with that throughout the day. The Hall of Fame put a couple guys in who probably shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame in baseball, but they do that every year now. Will Rogers staying at Washington. We have a lot to do. Ferrall Coast to Coast on a Wednesday. Carver High for Scotty. Joe's with me later. Huge first hour guest. We get it going right after this.
Games of the year, Warren, on Sunday night, as the Chiefs are now headed back to a 6th championship game, an extremely fun, clean game, and then the hijinks ensue.
And I thought it was just irresponsible for him to take that deep shot into the end zone. I talked a lot about it on X. I thought that they should have hit that underneath route to Diggs. He was wide open. It would have been easily a first down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. Kyle Shanahan said after the game it was the same shoulder that made Deebo Samuel miss 2 games throughout this regular season in 2023.
Last time it was a scapular fracture. He missed a couple weeks. By video, we don't see that. It was the play that he got hit and had a head check. It's more believed to be a muscle injury. X-rays are proven to be negative. They're saying 50-50 right now.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I'm not going to lie. I'm a Knicks fan. I feel bad for Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin was backing up Julius Randle, and then he got his opportunity in Indiana, was playing great, didn't play deep, brought him off the bench, and now they got Pascal Siakam, and now he's going into a free agent year. So Obi may be looking for a new home, but I do like that fast break if it's Halliburton with Obi and Siakam.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
We'll look at the Heisman
The
Trophy
Early
race
Line.
and what it all means. Individual success.
You should have tried to get something for Anthony Rendon. Not bought at the deadline.
Newswire.
We're getting a lot of news, trades, cuts, and some movement in terms of starting quarterback,
Ferrall,
backup quarterback.
coast to coast.
I want to watch great players make buckets and win games.
Game time decisions.
I have no idea what the heck the Blazers are doing and what they
In-game live.
Just
Prime
took them
time.
yard for a grand slam.
the bottom of the 4th inning in a 12-2 baseball game. We got football scores going on at Wrigley right now.
Sports
That
Rage
was good
Late
betting.
Night.
We waited for the 1.5. We got paid
We did.
consideration. Didn't like the 2.5. Jumped on
There's
it.
no taking weeks off in golf betting, ever. These are the best weeks to bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Time to turn talk into action. Step 1, fire up your BetMGM Sportsbook. Step 2, make your pick. And step 3, showtime. Now that hunch has some weight to it. Every play, every game means something more. Because now, you're betting with the king of sportsbooks.
And we're back. Ferrall Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High in for Scotty. Great to have everybody with us here today. SportsGrid Radio. BetMGM, they are getting you ready for Big Game 58. It is right around the corner. And listen to what they're doing for you. How about bet $5? Get $158 instantly. Are you kidding me? Download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android or visit BetMGM.com. Sign up and deposit at least $5 into your newly created account. That's right. This is for new customers here, this one. You got to place a wager in the amount of at least $5 at standard odds price. Once you have placed a bet, you will receive $158 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your wager. You got to use bonus code SG158. BetMGM getting you ready for Big Game 58. With the $5, get $158 instantly deal. Tremendous job, as always, by then. The other thing that you need to do is, if you don't have the SportsGrid app by now, the new SportsGrid app, another thing, you're just absolutely slacking here. This is a must-have. You can get it now both at the iOS and the Play Store. It does everything you could ever possibly want in an app. You can track scores and live odds. You can stay up to speed on all the latest content from your favorite hosts. You can watch or listen live at any time, anywhere, on the app. Think about that. You can watch SportsGrid live on the app. You can listen to SportsGrid Radio live on the app, including, if you so desire, Carver and Lisi weeknights at 8 p.m. East, which is available on SportsGrid Radio. So you have all of that. Once again, as we said, available now both iOS and the Play Store. It is smarter to be on SportsGrid. Go to sportsgrid.com/watch to catch the network and see all of the platforms that you can find us on. Quickly before we get to Coach, it is Nikolai Højgaard, like I said. He's 5 under now out at the Farmers at Torrey Pines. Matthew Naismith, Maverick McNeely. How about Maverick McNeely? That was a Keith Stewart pick yesterday here and he's out to a 4-under start through 11. Colin Morikawa's 4-under. Scott Don't Call Me Gene Stallings is there. Mark Don't Put the Hubbard in the Cupboard. Patrick Cantlay all at 3-under. So a very good start out of Torrey Pines for the Farmers. We always love when Coach James Young is with us, our SportsGrid Hoops analyst. Coach, great to see you as always. Coach has a very busy day ahead. Got to tape the podcast. He's got Seton Hall coming up in a little while. So very busy, Coach. It's good to have you for a few. Let's get right to it and start here. I talked to you on the radio last night. The Bucks chopped Griffin yesterday, 30-13 start. Out the door he goes. And, they don't even make it, Coach, like this wasn't in the works for a while, right? Like, when you hire a guy less than 24 hours later, you just know that the whispers were there even while the dude still had the job. And sure enough, Doc's going to be the coach. And I don't know, Coach, what does that mean for the Bucks now that Doc's going to be in there instead of this guy?
I don't know if they're going to be any better, Carver High. Let's be honest, because we've talked about it, how Doc's performed in the playoffs. And Doc will have – there's things to look at, folks. First things first, win total. If you're thinking about betting the adjusted win total for the Bucks, it's 54.5. Shop around. I believe that's what it is on BetMGM. Folks, they have the hardest schedule left in the NBA. So that's one thing to think about. So it's going to be an adjustment period. But to me, Mike, this was set up from the beginning. If Doc was hired 24 hours after being let go, Adrian Griffin, you know there were conversations. They probably said to him, hey, go to ESPN, sit in the wings, and wait to see what happens, and then we'll bring you in. Because to me, I think when you look at it, folks, and I talked about this with Mike last night, they have overachieved Doc's teams for years in the playoffs, right? The 2009 championship. I talked about it earlier today in the early line. All right, give me Rondo, Pierce, Ray Allen, Garnett, Kendrick Perkins, James Posey off the bench, Jason Terry, 10 with defense. Shoot, I can get me a championship trophy too. I can get me a ring. So we see what Doc has done after that. They've underachieved. I think right now, obviously Boston's better. I think Philadelphia's better. I think we'll get to a second. Scary Terry makes the Heat very scary. And I think the Knicks are better because they're going to be better coached.
Look, I get that. I don't think the Knicks are better. I don't. Now, maybe the Knicks can get another piece, Coach. I still think, even with Doc driving the bus, if the Knicks and the Bucks played in a 7-game series and the Bucks had home court, I just think Giannis and Dame would find a way to beat the Knicks. I don't care what Doc Rivers has to do with it, right? I mean, now, maybe not. Doc's got some bad luck, like you just said, or bad history. He sure don't want to be up 3-1 in a series because he's got big problems. He got big problems.
Take the money every way. Okay.
When he's up 3-1, he got major problems, and that's multiple times, Coach. He's had that problem. But I think Miami's the team to look at here. Making that Rozier deal yesterday, it's just the kind of instant offense and consistent instant offense that they really didn't have in their lineup. They had guys who could score, but you know when you have him out on the floor, he's going to get his. It ain't like Hero might give you 37 one night, he might give you 10 the next. Rozier going to give you consistency.
And I think you've got to remember, folks, that last year's playoff run, Tyler Hero didn't play. Let's remember, I think after game 1 of the first round, he was out. So, and you look at a team like Miami, they're always going to be prepared to play, right, Carver? And obviously their defensive scheme is always going to be the best in the league. For them, it's the scoring, right? So now you take a guy like Terry Rozier, who at times, ready for this, folks, could be your number 1 option with Hero, with Bam, and with Butler, because when he cooks, he can absolutely cook. So he can carry you for small stretches. Now, you're going to say to me, the defense. Yes, the defense is still going to be concerned with Rozier, and obviously in the backcourt with Tyler Hero. I think there's another bench piece they may have to get, maybe a backup big. And really quick, to go back to Milwaukee, the biggest concern you're going to have with Milwaukee is the fact that Darvin Ham left 2 years ago. That was your defensive coordinator, right? Then you lose the best defender in the NBA in Drew Holiday. And then you lose an underrated defender in Grayson Allen. In the NBA playoffs, the game slowed down. You need defenders that could stop in the half court. That's why I think the Knicks could give them a battle because can Tibbs outcoach Doc? But on the flip side, you have a stopper now in OG Anunoby who can stop 1 through 4. Milwaukee's got problems. But I'll tell you this, Miami, you do not want to see this team now in the playoffs.
Quickly, Coach, tonight, we got a lot of NBA, we got a lot of college basketball, but I want to ask you one thing. This seems like a stay away from me. The Warriors haven't played in a week. They had a tragic situation happen with the assistant coach on their staff passing away, and they got to get back at it tonight. Atlanta's in town. They don't got Trey. It's 6.5. There's going to be a very emotional building tonight at the Chase, Coach, for the Warriors.
I can't touch the game. If I go anywhere, I would lean Hawks because I think the emotion is less. Plus, you're looking at a Golden State team that's under 500, and they're looking to sell. I think it's too much to deal with. That's a rough situation. I've been around a situation where losing a player, it's something that you think you want to be on the floor, Mike, until you get on the floor, and all your emotions start to take over at that point.
They certainly do, Coach. Not going to be an easy scene at all. You're going to be at the Rock, of course, Seton Hall in Providence tonight. Seton Hall's already beat them at the dunk. Now the return battle.
Oh yeah, and I got my Hall in shirt. Shaheen and Ryan Whalen, they got me some good tickets. I'm sitting courtside. Look for Coach Hall in -3.5. Can't bet him in New Jersey. Can bet him everywhere else.
It's all right. I got him here in New York, Coach. I can play him. So there you go. Hall -3.5. Coach James Young, we're back on Coast to Coast right after this.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Some refer to him as a game manager, Mark. I mean, throwing for over 250 yards in divisional round, 39 attempts. I don't know if that really chalks up to being a game manager. He was kind of throwing it around with 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Pretty efficient.
Whatever we saw from Jared Goff in 2 home playoff games, I would expect something dynamically different from what we're going to see from him on the road. That's just the way it's been his entire career. His home road splits have always been pretty dynamic.
Football Full Circle, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
Well, look at the Heisman Trophy.
The early line.
And what it all means. Individual success.
You should have tried to get something for Anthony Rendon. Not bought at the deadline.
Newswire.
We're getting a lot of news, trades, cuts, and some movement in terms of starting quarterbacks,
Ferrall,
backup quarterbacks.
coast to coast.
I want to watch great players make buckets and win games.
Game time decisions.
You have no idea what the heck the Blazers are doing and what they
In-game live,
Just
prime time.
Yard for a grand slam.
The bottom of the 4th inning in a 12-2 baseball game. We got football scores going on at Wrigley right now.
Sports Rage
That was
late
good betting.
night.
We waited for 1.5. We got paid.
We did.
Didn't like the 2.5. Jumped on
There's
it.
no taking weeks off in golf betting ever. These are the best weeks to bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
And we are back for El Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us here today, every day. We got Gabe Morency with us, and you see him on Sports Rage Late Night every weeknight, 10 p.m. East, right here on the grid. Gabe, good to see you as always, my man. I'll start with this because this came out late this morning, early this afternoon, and that's this Hockey Canada stuff. Which, look, there was some weird stuff going on in the NHL yesterday. You had Carter Hart of the Flyers go out on a leave of absence. You had Dylan Dubé go out, leave of absence. A couple of kids in the Devil organization go out on leave of absence. And then suddenly you get this news this morning, which, of course, is that 5 members of Canada's 2018 World Junior Championship team are being told to surrender to the London police. They obviously didn't put the names in there, Gabe, but I think that if we can put 2 and 2 together, you have a pretty idea what those names are going to be.
Well, Philadelphia Flyer goaltender Carter Hart takes a leave of absence, and yes, he happened to be the goaltender of that 2018 team. Dylan Dubé happens to be a member of that team. As we stated, the 5 names haven't been released yet, but if you sort of, it's not hard to figure out what's going on here. It never stops, right? It's one of these stories, with Hockey Canada, Carver, and basically, it's like you're a parent now asking your kid to confess to something, but to everything at once. You know what I mean? Like, is there anything else that we don't know about, right? And no, right? Like, there's been federal hearings, like in front of Congress and Parliament type of deal. Like, what the hell is going on? Basically, people didn't realize, we all knew, let's just be real. Everybody knows what hockey players are like, and for whatever reason, we all look the other way, right? It's always fascinating to me, Carver. Like, an NFL player places a $10 parlay, bro, and people will report it. You know what I'm saying? NBA, baseball, like all sports reporters and journalists, whether the story is pretty or not, they need to report it. Let me put it this way, guys. Like Michael Vick with like a dog fighting operation going on. If he was a hockey player, we probably would never have known about it. Like, he doesn't get, you know what I mean? He doesn't get arrested. It's not like hockey people sit on stories, right? That's what they do. They all know, but they all sort of look the other way. And we all knew that a lot of these guys were in the NHL. So, like, Hockey Canada, guys, has paid off $19 million in lawsuits. But they won't say for what. So what do you think, Carver? So what? Like, did I miss? Did like a bunch of fans get hit with a puck in the stands, like deliberately? How have you given $19 million away to people of public money? We might add. How have you given away $19 million? Like, what the hell are you guys paying people off for? It's too graphic to talk about on these shows on this network.
Yeah,
it's ugly stuff. That would be like, it's just ugly stuff, man. Like, you're like, no, oh, God, no. What they did, what? They did this together? Oh, no. Right? Like, there's just sort of this constant shock factor, and it just keeps going on and on and on and on and on, bro. And it never ends. And it's complete embarrassment. And now it catches up to the NHL because you covered it up so long. These guys are in the NHL. So whether it's an NHL, you can't blame Bettman for this stuff. He's not responsible for what these jackasses do in London, right, Ontario. But do you really believe, Carver, that the NHL teams did not know what their players did 5-6 years ago? I'm just saying.
Look, there's enough people, Gabe, that spend their entire job for these organizations in the NHL as scouts and whatnot is to follow these kids around, to talk to people about these kids, to talk to coaches, to talk to teammates, to talk to parents. There's no way, Gabe, that in the last 6 years, somebody in the Flyer organization or somebody in the Calgary Flame organization didn't know that there was possibly something that went on with these kids at the 2018 World Junior.
It never comes out, so they figure
it never. Right, but
they figure it won't come out. It'll get covered up. But the whole point is, too, trust me, it's very similar. Like different cities are different in the NFL. Like, if you get arrested, if you're a New Orleans Saint player, They don't, like, they love the team so much. The city, like, is the team. You know what I'm saying? Baltimore. I knew a cop in Baltimore. He was a fan. You know, we met him. I hung out in Vegas with him and stuff. Great stories, all right? A big-time guy in Baltimore. Told me point blank. He goes, man, there was a big-time Raven once. The guy was upside down in a ditch, okay? He was upside down in a ditch, and he goes, man, loaded firearms the whole 9 yards. And he goes, we called it in. We were told, take him home. Right? Take him home.
Yeah,
and just for the record, it wasn't Ray Lewis. Oh, Ray Lewis. But it was a big-time Raven player. Wasn't Ray Lewis, just for the record. They told him, just take him home, man, and get a tow truck and whatever. Like, just, no. Like, no. Houston, they'll bust your ass. Like, Houston cops, like, you know what I mean? Las Vegas, another one. But you know what I mean? Like, Paris Hilton went to jail in Las Vegas. Like, L.A. slapped her on the wrist. Floyd Mayweather went to jail. O.J. Simpson went to jail for 15 years over a football helmet that was his. Like, Nevada will make an example of you if you're a celebrity, right? Canada, Carver, bro, unless you literally, like, shot a cop's mother and you're a star hockey player, they're really not interested in being the guy to take you down. So I don't think the chief of police in London, Ontario woke up today, Carver, and said, yeah, you know what, I think I want to shake the hockey world up, and if I'm wrong, my career and my life is over. Clearly, there's a lot of evidence, Carver. That's all I'm going to say.
No doubt. Tons of evidence. And like you said, way too graphic for us to absolutely.
And it hurts the Flyers moving forward. I don't know if for Zalpew's an Islander fan. They're going to lose their goalie, bro.
No, I mean, that's and look, that's the side of it that.
Not to make light of it.
That's the side that we, obviously, that's our space, right, Gabe? We're talking about betting on these teams every night. We're trying. And at the end of the day, you know, we got to. You know, we're capping the Flyers going forward, and it is what it is.
It's not a positive.
He ain't gonna be around.
And it's not just one guy. It's kind of like losing your quarterback or something. Like, you know what I mean? It's
right. You lose your
looking
goalie.
back, it's like,
it's a big deal.
It's like, yeah, he's kind of good. Like, you know what I mean? We just lost our star goalie.
No doubt. And it's a very, very tough scene. No question about that. Let's start with the hockey tonight, Gabe, because usually Wednesday's light, right? There's like 2 games. Wednesday sucks. Not tonight. We got a decent amount of games in the National Hockey League and a lot of late-night ones, too, which I know me and you always like for the late-night crowd. Vancouver's at it again.
The Rangers last night.
Oh, Gabe, how about that? Up 2-0 in that game. Like,
2 nights.
Jeez.
2 nights in a row, the Sharks have cost me. And I'm normally not one of these public parlay losers, but I've been doing it. I'm like, nah, the Kings will beat the Sharks.
It's because Cam talks you into it every night. Because that's a Cam move. Cam loves the big money line parlay.
Yeah, put them all together. Oh, yeah. He was saying, I really need the Rangers tonight, Gabe. Yeah. He was all happy they're up 2-0. It's like, oh, God. But that's the theme this week. We've either had the parlay busters at the end of the night and or a lot of heavyweight matchups, Carver, of great teams. You know, like, just like tonight again, you know, you got the Bruins and the Panthers, the Jets and the Leafs. The Jets just played the Bruins the other night. You got these, like, heavyweight tilts going on in the NHL. I tell you what, as good as the Panthers have been, Arizona are a pretty scrappy team, man. I wouldn't be laying minus 250 against them. And in fact, give me the Coyotes plus 1.5 in that game. The Canucks are just a machine, Carver. Like, this team, like, bro. You're getting minus 1.5 is plus 105. I think the Canucks will handle their business tonight. I hate to admit it, but I think we'll go back to the LA Kings again. Are they going to lose again tonight? This is almost one of these must-win. Vancouver. Let me see what it pays here. Vancouver, Buffalo, and LA. So Vancouver and LA plus 111, Carver. Well, you got Kraken, too. I don't even trust the Kings, actually. I'm going to take the Kings out and put the Kraken in. Kraken and Canucks, minus 115. That's
tonight.
better.
There's a lot. I mean, minus 250 Panthers, minus 275 Avalanche, minus 250 Canucks, minus 300 Kraken. Like, there's a lot of heavy lumber tonight, Gabe. Like, this is a perfect Cam Stewart moneyline parlay
buster
in the NHL. And one of them
There's always
lose.
one.
One or more will lose tonight. It's going to happen.
The same thing happens in the NBA. Carver, when you do the NBA, I used to do it. I don't do it anymore. Like, you know, the 12-point favorites and all this. Well, they'll win. They're not going to lose. They lose every night. They Cal went off for 62 the other night. They were 12.5-point favorites. They lost. All right?
You never know. You never know on a given night with these big NBA teams whether they care that night or not, if it's a paycheck game or not. They could easily show up and say, who cares? It's January 24th. I don't care if we win or lose tonight. And it's just it happens all too often.
Tonight,
we had a lot of action in the NBA.
One thing, the game that really I'm all about this one tonight is Oklahoma City and San Antonio. It's Chet Holmgren and Victor Wembanyama. They have a little rivalry going for real. Chet Holmgren's got a chip on his shoulder about Victor Wembanyama, and Victor Wembanyama's player prop tonight is 22.5 points. He's starting to get a couple of more minutes tonight. Guy dropped 33 the other night against the Sixers. What do you think he's going to score tonight? I love Wembanyama over 22.5 points tonight. And Victor Wembanyama is currently minus 125 to win the Rookie of the Year. Chet Holmgren's like minus 110. Wembanyama's numbers are starting to go up right now and up and up. Look for Wembanyama to start to pull away in this Rookie of the Year chase. And it starts tonight with this showdown tonight.
It certainly does. And, of course, the Bucks will be in action against the Cavs after whacking Griffin yesterday. They're going to hire Doc. I don't think Doc will be there tonight. I'm sure the interim's probably going to coach tonight. But either way,
give me
Bucks
the over. They don't play defense.
Over tonight. I like it. Gabe, we'll see you tonight. Sports Rage late night. 10 p.m.
Let's roll.
Right here on the Grid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Some refer to him as a game manager, Mark. I mean, throwing for over 250 yards in divisional round, 39 attempts. I don't know if that really chalks up to being a game manager. He was kind of throwing it around with 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Pretty efficient.
Whatever we saw from Jared Goff in 2 home playoff games, I would expect something dynamically different from what we're going to see from him on the road. That's just the way it's been his entire career. His home road splits have always been pretty dynamic.
Football Full Circle, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
We'll look at the Heisman Trophy
The early line.
and what it all means. Individual success.
You should have tried to get something for Anthony Rendon. Not bought at the deadline.
Newswire.
We're getting a lot of news, trades, cuts, and some movement in terms of starting quarterbacks,
Ferrall,
backup quarterbacks.
coast to coast.
I want to watch great players make buckets and win games.
Game time
I have
decisions.
no idea what the heck the Blazers are doing and what they
In-game live.
Just
Prime
took them
time.
yard for a grand slam.
In the bottom of the 4th inning in a 12-2 baseball game. We got football scores going on at Wrigley right now.
Sports Rage
That was good
late
betting.
night.
We waited for a 1.5. We got paid.
We did.
Did like a 2.5. Jumped on
There's
it.
no taking weeks off in golf betting, ever. These are the best weeks to bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
And we are back. Ferrall Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us here today. Of course, we are getting ready. NFC Championship game coming up on Sunday. The Lions in the NFC title game heading out to Santa Clara against the 49ers. Let's bring in our man Dominic Raiola. Of course, badass 14 years in Detroit with the Lions to spend a couple of minutes with us. Dominic, good to have you, my man. How's everything going?
Appreciate you having me. Everything's great, my man.
Let's start with this. You know what it's like in Detroit with football. 14 years there, down times, that fan base, very passionate, haven't had much to cheer about. It's got to make you feel good seeing that city and those fans have this run, have this moment. Dan Campbell leading the charge. It's got to be fun watching Lion football here, Dominic.
It's fun all around, just knowing I spent pretty much half my adult life in Michigan, in Detroit. Spent my whole career there. But I know I played with Dan. It's even better watching the guy that's leading the charge. Just knowing the kind of person he is and knowing how passionate he is and knowing what kind of man he is and what he represents. And he represents everything right. And if you've ever been to the Motor City, it's tough, it's grit, and that's exactly who Dan Campbell is.
And everybody kind of sees him now as the head coach, and you've got the crazy stuff with biting the ankles when he got hired. It's pure passion. It's pure grit, like you said. When he was a player, did you have any idea, you and maybe the other guys are like, I think Dan maybe could be a coach, be a head coach. Was he as crazy as he seems now sometimes on the podium? Did you kind of see any of those traits in Dan when he was a player?
The crazy, yes. The crazy never left him. Also, the getting in early, leaving late. He was one of the first guys in, always one of the last guys to leave. Always made himself available. That's one of his best traits, I think. I mean, the guy was there early before anybody, played with a knee brace on his elbow. If anybody knows his story, played injured, got hurt, fought his way back, played on one leg. You name it, he did it. And, Mike Martz always spoke highly of Dan Campbell, and Mike Martz is one of the elder brain trusts, that offensive brain trust in the NFL. And shoot, Dan, went and learned from the best. He was a Parcells guy, a Jason Garrett guy, Sean Payton guy. Was the assistant head coach, Sean Payton. So, I mean, you got to be pretty crazy to be his assistant head coach. And he learned it from the best.
He certainly did. Love Mike Martz. Got absolutely screwed, as we know, in Super Bowl 36 as the head coach of the LA Rams, of the St. Louis Rams. Right. No doubt about that. Dominic, how was it a couple weeks ago? You played with Matthew Stafford in Detroit during those years. To see Matthew go back with the Rams and play a playoff game in Detroit, which you tried so hard for so many years to get a home playoff game in Detroit. See him go back there. Wild scene, great game. Thankfully, the Lions won, but it had to be weird seeing Matt finally in a playoff game in Detroit, but on the other side.
Matthew's one of my closest friends. I was in his wedding. The guy had his first Christmas at my house with his wife now, Kelly. So we spent a lot of time together. We had a really close relationship, and I would say that that was a day that I couldn't lose as a fan. Obviously rooting for the Lions, but obviously rooting for Matthew. And what a season he has. He had to revive his career. But nonetheless, the city of Detroit deserves it. And I will say this: I've been around Red Wings, I've been around the Pistons, and I've been around the Tigers. The Tigers went to the World Series. I've been around Stanley Cups, drank out of the Stanley Cup. I've been around when the Pistons won it in the Palace. They beat Kobe and Shaq and the Lakers. And I will tell you, every time I've been around a celebration in Detroit, everybody always said, "Man, could you imagine if you guys ever won? I mean, this place would go upside down, bananas." And it's exactly what it is right now.
Yeah, it certainly is. And hopefully you're going to be having one of those in about 3.5 weeks from now. Hopefully we can get that kind of a celebration in Detroit. I'm rooting hard for the Lions, that's for sure. But they have a very tough matchup here now, Dominic, coming up on Sunday. Going out to Santa Clara to face the 49ers. We know the deal here. Number 1 seed in the NFC. You've got Purdy. You've got Christian McCaffrey, a very tough defense. But I think the one thing that people aren't bringing up enough about this Lion team is that they've shown you this year that they've got the stones to go on the road and to put up a big effort. Like, they're not a team that's just gotten fat playing indoors in the Dome in Detroit. They went to Kansas City opening week on the road and took care of business. They've gone on the road in some big spots. I don't think they're going to be scared at all of a challenge like this going out to Santa Clara.
Not at all. This team is built to stay in games and is built to win games that they're in. So I would say the key to this one is hanging around and being in the game and having positive possessions and possessions that end with punts. You turn the ball over to San Francisco, and that's where Green Bay got in trouble. But you got to hold on the ball. You got to end it with a kick, either a punt or a field goal or an extra point. So you got to end every drive like that. And this defense definitely has the mettle to be in games. Obviously, we saw that with, like you said, at Kansas City with who I think is the best quarterback in the game in Patrick Mahomes. And so, to open the season like that and prove to themselves that they can do this, and it's been a theme for them. So they're going to be all right. I mean, shoot, that head coach, he would walk into a fiery pit and play. So I know what he's built and what he's telling those guys. I mean, if you saw his post-game speech, the guy was on to San Francisco, within 20 minutes of finishing that game. So they'll be ready to play, and it should be a good one. I saw those numbers up there. I'm definitely taking the +7.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm with you. I'm on the +7, and I do think that they can win the game outright. I mean, they're 7-1 to win the whole thing, the Super Bowl, and I've already put a couple of tickets in on that as well. Being a center in this league for 14 years, and it's such a tough position to play. It's an unheralded position. I don't think it gets enough credit, how tough it is to anchor those offensive lines. What did you think on Sunday as you're watching Ragnow? I mean, he's getting beat up. Guys are rolling over him. Every time he went down, you're like, he ain't getting up. He's finished. And then sure enough, Frank Ragnow just kept going in that game. The toughness of that Detroit offensive line and watching him just take a licking and just keep on getting out there and leading the squad.
Yeah, I mean, that's what comes with the job, right? You never know who's rolling up on you from the right, from the left. I mean, shoot, I commend him for being out there. But you know what? It says a lot about him wanting to be out there, feeling the need to be out there. I mean, look, you can rest next week if you're not, if you ain't playing. And it's no guarantee you'll ever get back to this place. So if you ain't dead, you better stay out on that field, And it's one of those things, man. It comes with the territory. Like I said, you getting rolled up on. I mean, he just looked so defeated, but got up and shoot, he made a nice block on that touchdown, with Vita Vea one-on-one. So, shout out to him for, sticking it out and toughing it out.
Have you already kind of looked ahead and pre-booked some flights and tickets to Vegas for 2 weeks from now, just in case? Or are you a little too superstitious for that? You got to wait and see what happens on Sunday. You like watching it in the comfy confines of your home. What happens if the Lions win this game on Sunday, Dominic? Are we going out to Vegas?
I'm not going to Vegas. I'll watch it at home. I'll tell you what, I'm more superstitious on the other side. I haven't been to Ford Field for one of their playoff games, so I haven't been to a game this year at Ford Field. So I think me staying here on my couch is exactly where I need to be. That might be the superstition,
So how about then skip Vegas and you go back to Detroit for the parade? How about that?
Just
how
go
about
to
we
the
do
parade.
It that way? We'll just
go Jason Kelce, shirt off. Yeah, just go shirt off, Jason Kelce, and that would be something. Yeah, that would be something down Woodward Avenue. I mean, that place would be upside down, more upside down than it is right now.
I hope it happens. I certainly do, Dominic. Let me also bring up, because not only, of course, you played for the Lions for 14 years, but your son, Dylan, the top quarterback prospect in the country last year, originally committed to Georgia, now transfers to Nebraska to play for Matt Rule, and where you played, that's got to make you feel, look, I'm sure you were going to be happy no matter where he was going to play college football. But for him to be now going to Lincoln to play for the Huskers, how's that make? That's got to make you feel like $1 million.
I mean, that's you always want to. It's so cliche. You want your kids to have their own journey, to walk their own journey. You don't want them to follow in your footsteps. But when they make the choice to do it, it was something tugging at his heart, and he felt like he's bigger than he can make a change, and it's Nebraska's a place that they're going to welcome him in. They're going to give him every chance in the world. And shoot, if you look at Matt Rule's track record at Temple, at Baylor, I mean, the guy knows how to turn a program around, and he's already 1 year into it. So, I'm glad he's going to a great program, and I can really get behind it. And one thing I will say is, back when Nebraska was Nebraska, in the late 90s, Nebraska's still that magnitude of program. So I would say, people need to start putting some respect on that program, because it ain't no Mickey Fluke, small program. If anybody's ever been there, and knows what the magnitude of the program was back then, you could easily say that Nebraska was the Alabama of the late 90s. You know what I'm saying? Those guys won 3 championships in 4 years. So, put some respect on my program, and look, they'll be back soon enough.
Who was the biggest recruiter for this? Was it you? Was it Matt Rule, or was it your brother, who's the O-line coach? Who had the most push for Dylan to get him out there?
Dude, my wife and I we're huge proponents of Nebraska, and we knew that it's such a good place, and that a place like that deserves a talent like Dylan. But I would say Nebraska was always it was always on TV, because I watched Nebraska. I'm like, you ain't getting a big TV. I went to school there, and I pay the bills in this house, so we're watching Nebraska every week. We watch Nebraska volleyball. We always watch Nebraska. So I think I would say that it was really just him coming to his own decision towards the very end, in the 11th hour. So I would say, he knew all along, and we did give Nebraska that respect all along through the coaching change. I think he just wanted to see Coach Rule coach for a year, and no disrespect to anybody else, but that's who's going to be coaching, who's going to be leading this program, and Trev Albert's at the helm, leading the whole athletic program. And so, I mean, it's a home run. My wife, we couldn't be more excited. My family, we have a place to stay there, obviously, with my brother. So, and he's hopefully the standard gets elevated, and the building just gets better and growing. And shoot, 12-team playoff, anything can happen. We saw that with Washington. We saw that with a lot of teams. So,
yep, we started to see the seeds of it already this year with Matt. And now I'm sure that Dylan's going to help him take him even further back to that level where they belong and where they were. Dominic, tremendous job. Thanks for being with us here today. Go Lions on Sunday in Santa Clara. Dominic Raiola, we're back, coast to coast, right after this.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Some refer to him as a game manager, Mark. I mean, throwing for over 250 yards in divisional round, 39 attempts. I don't know if that really chalks up to being a game manager. He was kind of throwing it around with 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Pretty efficient.
Whatever we saw from Jared Goff in 2 home playoff games, I would expect something dynamically different from what we're going to see from him on the road. That's just the way it's been his entire career. His home road splits have always been pretty dynamic.
Football Full Circle, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
We'll look at the Heisman Trophy,
The early line,
and what it all means. Individual success.
You should have tried to get something for Anthony Rendon. Not bought at this deadline.
Newswire.
We're getting a lot of news, trades, cuts, and some movement in terms of starting quarterbacks,
Ferrall,
backup quarterbacks.
coast to coast.
I want to watch great players make buckets and win games.
Game time
You
decisions.
have no idea what the heck the Blazers are doing and what they
In-game live.
Just
Prime
took 'em
time.
yard for a grand slam.
In the bottom of the 4th inning in a 12-2 baseball game. We got football scores going on at Wrigley right now.
Sports
That
Rage
was
Late
better.
Night.
We waited for a 1.5. We got paid.
We did.
Did like the 2.5. Jumped on
There's
it.
no taking weeks off in golf betting ever. These are the best weeks to bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
And we are back for El Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High in for Scotty. We're going to bring Joe in a moment. But first, a lot of head coaching news going on right now. A lot of coaching news, period, going on right now. I'm going to give you that update in a moment. But first, let's go to the early line this morning. Boomer Esiason, of course, with the boys talking about where could Ben Johnson go. He's got a pretty good feeling where the Lions OC is going to head. Let's hear from Boomer on the early line.
To the best of your knowledge, how is this process playing out between the Commanders and Ben Johnson?
Well, I think that there's a relationship there between Adam Peters, their new GM, and Ben somewhere along the line. I knew that when he was named GM that it was a really good chance that Ben would definitely be the head coach of the Commanders. Now, that hasn't been officially put out there by the Commanders because it can't, because Ben is still working. But I firmly believe in my heart that he will be the next coach of the Washington Commanders. And if I'm wrong, I'll come on here when Ben's season is over, whether that be all the way through the Super Bowl or after they play the 49ers this weekend, and apologize. But I do believe in my heart that he is going to be hired by the Commanders, and that's why I went on my show this morning and basically said it was a slam dunk that he's going to be the head coach. So hopefully I'm not going to look like an idiot in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, Joe, I saw Boomer do that this morning on his show, and then I saw him reiterate it with Ben and Donnie there on the early line. If Boomer's saying that, Joe, I think you can almost book it. Look, I'm sure there's still hurdles to go. If they make the Super Bowl, you're talking weeks. But if Boomer knows intel like that, Ben Johnson's he's going to be the next head coach of the Washington Commanders.
99.99999% confident, but there's always that 0.0001. But it looks like he will be the new head coach. A lot of young talent. Terry McLaurin's there.
Yeah.
Brian Robinson, you know.
We will come back, Joe. I haven't even properly introduced you yet. We will do that at the top of the hour. And more coaching news. A defensive coordinator getting chopped. Sounds like he already has a new home, too. How about that? Ferrall Coast to Coast, hour number 2. Next, SportsGrid Radio, right after this.